The Xbox Game Showcase is coming at you live this Sunday, and I'm back with a brand new video because every single year since I've been doing this YouTube thing, we're talking about my predictions, my preview for the Xbox Showcase, and it starts now. What is going on, everybody? This is Randall Thor19, the man with the million, back again with another video. I told you guys you wouldn't have to wait too long after my last one. We're starting to get back into this thing slowly but surely, and I'm sure you guys can expect more videos from me in the coming days going over, my thoughts about the showcase and all those sort of things. Maybe even Phil Spencer's going to say some things at Ryan McCaffrey's IGN Live. That's going to be a really interesting listen. But today, we are going to go over all the announcements I think we might see at the showcase. Some of this stuff will be 100% right. Obviously, I'm going to get some things wrong, but this is going to be a massive show. For the first time ever, we have Xbox and all of their studios, Bethesda, and finally, Activision Blizzard, after Microsoft basically spent 2 years trying to get regulators to let them buy them. Microsoft has acquired them as of October of last year, and now they're going to be integrated into the showcase. We know that Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is going to end the show. There is a Call of Duty Direct, very similar to last year where Microsoft had a Starfield Direct. Now, there are some questions still to be answered, like how long is the event going to be? How many games will we see and stuff like that? I don't know, there's rumors that it's going to be approaching 2 hours with over 30 games shown. And, the Call of Duty Direct might be anywhere between 30 to 40 minutes. But there is a lot here to go over. And, the things I'm hearing from people that whisper things to me are talking about how this is going to be an exciting show. Not only that, but maybe an all-timer. Maybe one of the best Xbox showcases they've ever seen. So that's pretty damn exciting. Although I'm trying to keep my hype in check. You don't want to overinflate your expectations because you can always be let down, and Xbox sometimes is pretty good at letting people down. But in my core, I feel like this is going to be a damn fine show. So what I'm going to do right now is we're going to go over it in sections. We got the third-party section, the ABK section, the Bethesda section, and Xbox Game Studios. Third party is obviously pretty hard to predict. Anything can show up, new indie games, new third-party titles. So I'm just going to give a list of games that I think we could see, starting with Stalker 2. Microsoft is funding that game. We know it's exclusive for some sort of period, whether it's 3 months or longer, who knows. I think we'll see it again with the release date. I think it's supposed to be in September. I'm not really sure, but I think Stalker 2 will be there. And I think finally we will get a release date for Hollow Knight Silksong. We know it's in Game Pass. The last time we've seen it was at an Xbox show a couple years ago. I think it shows up again, and they actually drop the release date. Another game that has been at previous shows that I think will show up at this one is the indie game Replaced. Now, for some of the bigger AAA games that might show up here, I think we'll see a trailer for Metal Gear Solid Delta, the remake of Metal Gear Solid 3 from Konami. We might get another trailer for Star Wars Outlaws, basically telling people to tune into the Ubisoft event on June 10th. Same thing with Assassin's Creed Shadows. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Assassin's Creed Shadows, similar thing, probably a quick trailer with a mention of tune in to the Ubisoft show. Now, I guess you could say all those choices right there are pretty safe, and I would agree with you. So let's go out on a limb, shall we? I think Square Enix is going to show up in a big way here, right? We've all heard the news that Square has a new CEO. We've seen the image of Phil Spencer on stage shaking the hands in that three-way. There have been some games announced for Xbox. We know Visions of Mana is coming to Game Pass, supposed to release this summer. So I think it could potentially show up here. But I know all the Xbox fans wants to know what is going on with Final Fantasy. We do have one that recently released, even though it's older. Final Fantasy 14 is on Xbox. Dawn Trail is supposed to be releasing soon. I wouldn't be surprised if a new trailer for that shows up at the show. But I know what everybody's thinking. We don't care about Final Fantasy Online. We don't really care that much about Visions of Mana. It's all about Final Fantasy, whether a mainline like Final Fantasy 16 or the remake trilogy. Now, I don't think the remake trilogy is going to show up anytime soon. It may not ever show up, and if it does show up, it might be after the third game. But I'm feeling pretty good that Final Fantasy 16 is going to show up on Xbox's stage with a date maybe at the end of the year, probably maybe early 2025. But Final Fantasy 16, I think, will be there. And another huge Japanese RPG will be making its debut here on Xbox, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say, because of Xbox's and Sega's relationship, how strong it is, Atlas is going to debut a first look, very short look, at Persona 6. Now, let's quickly transition to ABK. Let's talk about what I think we're going to see there. Clearly, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, the first Call of Duty game to be in development for 4 years. There's a lot of hype surrounding this game. It's going to get 30 to 40 minutes after the main showcase. Don't be surprised if we actually see a trailer during the show. Same thing happened with Starfield last year. It'll probably happen again. But it's not all just about Call of Duty. I think we will also see a trailer for a World of Warcraft expansion, War Within, supposed to be hitting this year. Wouldn't be surprised it's at the Xbox show because there is no BlizzCon this year, as well as a trailer for the first Diablo 4 expansion called The Vessel of Hate. I think we'll get a release date for that. But I don't think we'll get any new game announcements outside of the Call of Duty one. However, Microsoft still has to tell us their plans regarding Game Pass and the ABK catalog, which I think they will do during the show. Don't be surprised if, in fact, they maybe even say available now. I think Xbox is going to say starting in June, we are going to drip feed content month by month leading up to the release of Call of Duty. I think this is where we get that information. And not only current games hitting Game Pass like Call of Duties or Spyro or Crash, I think Microsoft is also reopening their backwards compatibility program to add a final push of back compat games that they can put into Game Pass, stuff like Singularity. Maybe they've even gone and gotten the licenses for stuff like Marvel Ultimate Alliance and the Transformers games. But I do think there will be some new back compat titles that they can throw into Game Pass, and we'll get that announcement on Sunday. So that's all the ABK stuff. Let us get to Bethesda, because they're going to be showing up here too in force. Unfortunately, Microsoft did shut down some of Bethesda studios like Tango Gameworks, Arcane Austin, Roundhouse, and Alpha Dog, which is an absolute shame. When I heard the Tango news, I was heartbroken because they made one of my favorite games of last year, Hi-Fi Rush 2, and it kind of sucks we're never going to see anything from them again. But they do have some other studios that are about to ship stuff. One of the main games that is going to hold down Xbox's 2024 is Indiana Jones from Machine Games. We will see that again, and we will get a release date for it sometime November, December-ish. One of the things that people don't like seeing in these presentations is trailers for live service stuff. And I already said we're going to see one for World of Warcraft and Diablo 4. Probably going to see one for Sea of Thieves on the Xbox side. But we know that Bethesda has some huge live service titles like Elder Scrolls Online. I mean, in fact, the last 2 years we've done this. Pete Hines has been out there with a back-to-back of Fallout 76 and Elder Scrolls Online trailers. Unfortunately, Pete Hines is no longer with the company, but we could easily see trailers for both Elder Scrolls Online, and now that Fallout is the biggest IP in the world thanks to the TV show, you are definitely going to see a new trailer for Fallout 76 content. Unfortunately, I know what everybody really wants. They want an announcement of Fallout 5, or they want an announcement of a spin-off like Fallout Chicago from Obsidian. I don't think we're going to get those this year. Fallout 5 announcement is still years away at this point. I do think we might see a spin-off in the future, but it definitely, I don't think, will be announced this year. I would be surprised if it was. I would be shocked. But I'm going to say we don't see it. We just get a trailer for Fallout 76. Maybe even something from the show. Maybe like an intro from the main characters or something. They could do something like that. Maybe a tease of Season 2 from the TV show, although that might be a little early. I mentioned earlier in the vid about how Call of Duty Black Ops 6 has the direct this year. Well, Starfield had it last year, as everybody knows. And Starfield is going to show up once again with the release date and a brand new trailer for Shattered Space. Can't wait to see what that looks like. They've been updating the game. It runs at 60 frames on console now. And I know there's been rumors going around about an Xbox first-party game being shadow dropped, and a lot of the games being said don't really make a lot of sense. But I think the first-party shadow drop that is being referenced is going to have to do with something with the Starfield modding scene, the modding kit and stuff like that. One of the games I'm most excited to see, one of my favorite franchises in the world, is Doom. And it already sort of leaked by Tom Henderson and others that Doom, the Dark Ages, is a thing and will be at the showcase. I cannot wait to see it. I'm kind of wondering where it'll be positioned, and I'll get to that in a minute. So we will see Doom, the Dark Age. And I'm just going to throw this out there, and I think it is going to be time, but we know that ZeniMax Online has been working on a brand new IP for over 4 years. They're the ones who do Elder Scrolls Online. I think we also get a CGI reveal of what that game is. All right, so we're going to move to Xbox Game Studios, but I want to talk about how I foresee this showcase not only opening, but closing. I try to do this every single year. I think I nailed it last year, at least with the opener. I said Fable will open. Clockwork Revolution closed. I wasn't really expecting that. But this year, in my mind, I have a couple scenarios. The first one, and the one I think is the most likely, is that the opener of the show will be Perfect Dark. And the reason for that is because I think it's going to be very similar to what they did last year. Everybody wanted to see Fable. And as soon as the show started, it was, here's Fable, let's show some gameplay, that people still debate if it even actually is gameplay because of how good it looked. But people were super excited to see a first look at that game after 3 years. And Perfect Dark is in that same situation. They revealed it at the Game Awards in 2020, and now it's summer 2024. People want to know what this game looks like. Crystal Dynamics has been on it for a while. So I think they will do the same thing like they did with Fable. Open up the showcase with the look of a game we haven't seen in a long time. So I think Perfect Dark opens. Now I mentioned, where do I feel the new Doom game, Doom Dark Ages, that could close the show, but I don't think it will. Because I think Xbox is going to try to go for a very strong 1-2 punch. So I think you're going to see them start with Perfect Dark, transition immediately into Doom, the Dark Ages, as like, wow, look at these two huge first-party IPs, and then dovetail into a big third-party game, maybe Assassin's Creed Shadows, and then you can do the introduction. Somebody will probably come on stage, Sarah Bond, and that'll be how it goes. So I think we'll start with Perfect Dark, followed up by Doom, the Dark Ages, although that game could close. As for what I think closes the show, it's time. Yes, it is time to finally see the Wizards of Unreal Engine make their return. Gears of War and the Coalition. I think Gears of War 6 closes the show, although I guess you could swap it with Doom. Doom could close the show, or it could be the second thing they show. Gears could be the second thing they show, or it could close. I'm very open either way to that, but right now I'm going to say Gears 6 is the final game we see before Phil Spencer comes on stage to kind of give us an overview of everything we just watched, and then introduces the Call of Duty Direct. And I, for one, cannot wait to see what the Coalition has done with Gears. I mean, most of us have seen and played Hellblade Senua's Saga 2, and that was running on Unreal Engine 5, and it is one of the most, words can't even describe how incredible that game looked. And the Coalition, outside of Epic, are the masters. So I think we'll see Gear 6. Now, I know another game everybody's been expecting. A lot of rumors floating around there for years now. Everybody's like, give us that Gears collection, the Marcus Phoenix collection, or whatever they're calling it these days. Gears 1 through 3, or Gears 1 through Judgment, or even I've seen people say, oh, it's Gears 1 through 5. Gears collection. Everybody's like, yeah, this is going to be at the showcase. I'm going to throw a little dash of cold water in your face. I do not think we see the Gears collection at this show. I don't think it's ready yet. I think we see it next year. So the Gears collection, I'm going to say, if it's real, which I think it is, will be revealed next year in 2025, which, okay, Gears 6 is probably a 2026 game. Don't get mad at me, but that is just how I'm currently feeling. Now, some other games we know are going to get release dates. We know Avowed is supposed to come out this year, so we'll get another trailer for Avowed with a release date. We also know that something like Aura History Untold is supposed to release this year. That'll get a release date. Same thing for Age of Mythology Retold from World's End. That'll also get a release date, as well as Towerborn from Xbox Global Publishing. And I do think we get to see Contraband once again. It has been 2-3 years now. I think Contraband makes a reappearance, but they're not going to say a date on it yet. Another game that I think shows up with a release date is Microsoft Flight Sim 2024. There's rumors that it's supposed to come out in November, but it should be there. Now, we're going to talk about some of the other games that really won't have some dates there. People are saying South of Midnight and Clockwork Revolution. I'm of the opinion that we don't see either of those two games at this show because we're going to see them in 6 months at the Developer Direct. I could be wrong. They could easily show up here. I guess it just depends on how many games Microsoft is showing here. But I will say Fable shows up. For a long time, I was like, those 3 games, they're going to be at the Developer Direct. But in recent days, I've kind of been feeling, I think because I think they're trying to make Fable something huge. And to do that, I think it needs to show up at more events. So I do think we will see Fable show up here. Sea of Thieves will have a trailer. And if Sea of Thieves is not here, it'll be the first time it's not at an Xbox showcase in years. Although I wonder if it could be at the Nintendo Direct, which is supposed to be happening sometime soon. Maybe announcing that it's hitting the Switch 2 or Switch in general at some point, as we've seen that game do numbers on PlayStation. Another game we haven't seen in a long time is State of Decay 3. I am pretty sure that game will make an appearance here. Very curious to see how that game has evolved. We all remember that CGI trailer. We all thought to ourselves, there's no way Undead Labs will be able to match the visual fidelity of that trailer, but I think they might come pretty close. Very interested in seeing what a State of Decay 3 looks like, because State of Decay 2 was very much State of Decay 1.5. It had gimped online capabilities, like you were tethered. Very curious to see what they do with that game, and I do think we will see it. Now, one of the things I've been thinking for a while is that Microsoft needs to, you could say, quell the fan base or make them really happy. And I know there's a lot of things they're doing game-wise, right? There's rumors of Killer Instinct 2, which I think is going to be pretty awesome whenever they do reveal that in the future. But there's always been this talk of Banjo. Banjo, where are you? We saw Microsoft let Nintendo use Banjo for Smash Brothers a few years ago. Everybody thought an Xbox game was going to come sooner rather than later, and it didn't. But I think Xbox is going to finally come out and say, we need to give the fans an extra something. And yes, for all my Banjo bros out there, I've always wanted you to get your game. I think this is finally the year that Banjo makes his reappearance, and there's going to be a short trailer reintroducing him to the world. I hope it's everything you guys wanted. Hopefully I'm not wrong, but I don't know, I just have this feeling that Banjo's gonna be there. One of the other rumors that was floating around, and this kind of details what I think might happen towards the end of the show, because you never know, there's rumors of a new controller with haptic feedback. Will that show up? Rumors of a white Series X. We know from Target store listings that the Series X is supposed to be on sale for $399. Do they officially drop the price? I think that's something they could do, especially if you're introducing a brand new white Series X all digital, adorably all digital as they called it in the leaks. But none of that stuff's really exciting, although I would be very interested in a new controller. The rumors based around the handheld, this often talked about, rumored pie-in-the-sky Xbox Handheld that people have gone back and forth on. It exists, it doesn't exist, it's going to be streaming only, no, it's going to be full downloads and stuff like that. Do I think it's real? Yes, I think it is. I think Xbox does have a handheld that they're working on as part of their next-gen offerings. But I also feel Xbox is going to want to actually come out and tease it here. So I do believe that rumor. So during the show, probably at the end, when Phil is going over everything we just saw and how Xbox is the best platform to play on because you got Game Pass and all these sort of things, I think they'll basically tease the handheld. I don't know what it's going to look like, if it'll just be like a silhouette of a handheld that you would like, oh, that is a handheld, right? I don't know if we'll actually see a render. I don't know if we'll actually see it. And I don't expect it to release anytime soon, like this year or next year. Then again, I could be completely wrong. I think it's just one of those things that they're working on, and they want to reassure people that they're not leaving hardware. And one of the things that has been most requested is a handheld version of like an Xbox Series S or whatever, where you can take your games on the go and not be limited to a touchscreen like your phone. So I do think we will see a tease of the handheld. And you know what? That's my video. I wanted to get this over as quick as possible, and this thing probably still going to be 20 minutes long. It sounds like a great show. I mean, the first look at Gears 6, Doom the Dark Ages, the reappearance of Perfect Dark, and State of Decay 3, release dates for Indiana Jones and Avowed, another showing of Fable, and the announcement of a fan favorite coming back, Banjo. I mean, that sounds like a pretty damn good show. Of course, there's probably going to be other surprises that I just can't even think of, but that is what I think is going to be happening this Sunday, and I hope it's good, man. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, sticking with me through all this. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. Later, guys.